Welcome to the St. Peter's School Board meeting. This is our regular board meeting on Monday, August 15th, 2022. We are in the governor's room at the St. Peter Community Center. It is 6:30-ish, and I would like to call this meeting to order. And if we could rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, the flag is here.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'm looking for a motion to adopt the agenda. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the agenda. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. If anyone would like to speak to an agenda item tonight, if they could see Sarah. By the looks of who's here, I think we're all accounted for, but if you do want to speak to an agenda item, please talk to Sarah. Approval of consent agenda items. So our practice is to not read all of the consent agenda items, but the packet is available to all of us. And if there are items that individual board members would like pulled out or have questions about, now is a great time for that. Hearing
to accept the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to accept the consent agenda. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We'll move on to action items. Consider approval of the 2022-23 COVID protocols. Superintendent.
Yes, as much as we would love to believe that COVID is behind us, it is a federal requirement for us to have COVID protocols that are reviewed and posted at least every 6 months. And so we have updated our COVID protocols. Much of the requirements that we've had for the past 2 years have gone by the wayside. The one that really remains is if someone tests positive for COVID, we ask that they stay home for at least 5 days or until their fever has passed for at least 24 hours. They do recommend using precautions for the next 5 days, so a total of 10 days. However, we are not requiring that. There's not going to be notifications unless we have multiple cases in one activity or one classroom. Much like we do with strep throat or flu, if we see a concentration in a given program or a given classroom, we'll let people know about that. Otherwise, we will not be making contacts regarding close contacts or anything like that. Face masks are not required any longer, and we will be continuing to monitor the situation and following the CDC guidelines. Of course, if the state or the federal government or CDC requires us to make a change, we'll be making a change to that.
Any questions?
So if those changes are recommended, does the board still have to act on them, or based on the way this is written, do you automatically go to?
Well, if the state or federal government required us to do something immediately, of course we would need to do that immediately. My preference would be to bring it to the board for acceptance.
Well, after the CDC developed their updated guidelines last week, and we had a whole situation. It's here to stay.
And this plan is required by time.
Yes, and it will be posted on the website. We'll also send this out as part of an update to everyone in the district, just so that they have it. Received a couple of phone calls asking for them, and asked that that would be available after tonight's meeting.
I think the plan looks really good, makes a lot of sense for where we are with everything. Just, so who's monitoring? You know, like for changes in county status, for changes in CDC, is it you, is it?
It comes from a number of places. We do get weekly updates from MDE based on the numbers, and then our nurse is part of weekly nurses call, or monthly, I think it is now, where they receive updates and guidance as well.
Is there a motion to approve the 2022-23 COVID protocols?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 2, consider approval of superintendent goals for 2022-23. So this has come out of ongoing discussions, but then also part of the superintendent's annual review process. And then I want to thank everyone for answering the questions on that Google form. There you go. There it is. And this is the list that kind of rose to the top. So 4 goals. 1, provide additional support for students for post-COVID learning. Ensure academic interventions and credit recovery are fully implement an enhanced system of social emotional support for students, and improve student scores on standardized assessments. This is exciting to think about kind of returning to the real business of education. So. Number 2, complete the action steps outlined in the strategic plan. That was a goal for last year, and at the onset of this year, Superintendent Gronseth shared some action steps, and included in that completion of those action steps, provide the measurement data indicated in the 2022-23 action plan. So that plan indicated meeting certain measurements out of
Sure, each of the goal areas had measurable outcomes, and some of them were survey data, others were the existence of whatever product it is that is being created for that goal area. And so that would be the measurement data that we're talking about.
Number 3, enrollment growth in district communications. So develop an enrollment campaign, develop an effective communication system for all stakeholders, develop opportunities for stakeholder engagement and input, and be an active and engaged member of the community. And then number 4, buildings and operations, provide information regarding current programmatic needs, develop a plan to meet current and future facility needs, provide the school board with information needed to make informed decisions regarding facilities. We've had a lot of discussions about Rock Bend and our need for space, also our relationship with InVed and their need for space, and as well as just the different players inside the reconfigured middle school with ECFE, having space there and here at the community center, and then the district office and the middle school as well. So just thinking about all our needs throughout the district and coming up with a facilities plan that meets the goal. Are there any questions about those goals? Yeah.
Just wondering, are these set in stone now with when they're passed, or are they flexible? For instance, once we finish our equity work, if we feel that something should be adjusted, with these goals? Are we able to do that?
Yeah, I would think that we can always adjust what we want Superintendent Gronseth working on and what we want the district focused on. I mean, nobody, this time of year would have known that there was a pandemic coming in March, and no one knew about the tornado in '98, and so I think if something comes up that's a big priority, certainly that work shifts. I do think that we have some definable goals here, but one of them being the strategic plan and action steps. I think you mentioned equity, that's part of the strategic plan, and so I think we kind of have maybe more latitude than we would if that was not a more general goal.
If I could, equity is always a priority in my mind, and that's kind of a filter that I bring to whatever we're working on. And there's a lot of things that I work on that aren't in these goals too. And so even though it's not a formal written goal, that can be part of our conversation, part of expectations that we have without it being a formal goal.
And the number 2 is a very short item on this list, but it's huge, and the administrative team has been working on this, and there's a lot of fluid timelines on this that have measurements and so on, and I think the strategic plan is the biggest part of what I would see as your responsibilities. Doesn't say that, right, but it's huge, so yeah.
I did want to mention that since this was put in here, it's a more formal document, and there's been a few grammatical corrections. Means the same thing, but there's just getting that out there. I know it has some grammatical errors in it.
Superintendent goals for 22-23.
We have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Number 3 on the action items tonight. Consider adoption of the handbooks, student handbooks for the 2022-23 school year.
The moment we've all been waiting for. Very exciting changes to the handbooks. A salute to the principals who have been working hard to make a lot of adjustments to handbooks this year. And here's Mr. Graff to tell you all about it.
Yeah, so thank you. The changes to the handbooks this year are really a result of the substantial policy changes, that the board has been going through. So there are really 3 types of changes that you see in our handbooks. The first type is a change to language within the handbook to reflect newly adopted policy. So 2 examples of that. The newly adopted policy 503, which is our absence policy, that spells out very specifically what the guidelines are for an excused absence. Our former handbooks didn't have that because we didn't have a policy. So we've added that to our handbooks. The next one is student appearance, the adoption of policy 504. That has very specific guidelines for dress, so we've added that to our handbooks to reflect that. The second type of change is adding an appendix to the policy or the student handbook to reflect the policies that are required in our handbooks. The MSBA policies, model policies, do a really nice job of spelling it out at the bottom. This needs to be in your handbook. So we created an appendix, which we hope to kind of stand alone, that we can adjust year to year based on those statutes, based on those guidelines. And the third type of change that are in our handbooks are really a result of creating that appendix. So the middle school handbook, for example, it kind of flowed through the policies in the middle of that handbook. Bullying is an example. bullying policy was in the middle of that handbook. Because we pulled that bullying policy out and made it a separate appendix, we've now added pieces in the body of the handbook to talk about bullying, which are really just short snippets of those policies. So those are the three types of changes that you see throughout all of the building's handbooks. Other than that, there are no substantial changes to this year.
I'm going to pop up because I had a few more changes of alternative programs, so the Oshawa Learning Academy and Rock Bend. We didn't have our own policy handbooks before last summer, so last year was creating those policies, and this year, kind of with John Graff's leadership, we've all really taken a good look. And so when John sent his example of the middle school handbook, I looked through Rock Bend and Oshawa and found a few policies that I felt those programs could use. So those are listed in our memo, but they're not different from any other school policy, they're just new to our handbook. So very consistent with other schools in the district, which feels appropriate. The one thing that is different in the Rock Bend ALC handbook is an academic section. And the high school handbook talks about 120 clock hours equaling 1 credit. But Rock Bend is a core credit recovery program. And so if a student has already done 120 clock hours in biology and they're just doing credit recovery, it's not always appropriate for them to do a full 120 hours again. And that's same in our credit recovery night and summer school. So we just modified the language a little bit on that to be more reflective of good practices for credit recovery and that accelerated learning option. So it just says something like, when I can pull it up here, it says, this equation does not apply to credit recovery courses because we don't want to make those students repeat every minute of the class. So those are the only changes for hours we just had to think about.
And a side note, as we're going through and adopting the MSBA policies, or using those as our guide, Mr. Roundsett and I have talked, perhaps next year we access the MSBA model handbook and try to use that same process to make sure that we're
I just have a quick question about, us defining what an absence is. I know you and I have kind of talked about that. Are we going to be able, how are we going to communicate that to parents? Otherwise, I think our attendance people will be saying kind of the same thing over and over again. Because I mean, I myself is like asking, you know what I mean, to kind of make that clarification.
For sure. At the middle school level, we hope to communicate during conferences and then also in our weekly memos. Really talking about how we need to get back to being a little bit tighter on attendance. When COVID came around, it was really like, if you're not feeling well, please stay home. And that's caused some concern in terms of attendance.
If anybody has questions, or if there's an exception or something happening in their family, they should just talk to their building principal.
Please talk to your principal. They're intended as guidelines to steer supervision.
I apologize if you said this, but I was holding PDFs. Could you, like, just really briefly, like, what was the process? Like, who were the stakeholders involved in looking at, throughout the review process, who did it, who had input, who had...
So the process was largely a result of my involvement in the policy committee, just kind of being that liaison between the policy work and the principals. And there weren't really a whole lot of decisions to be made because it was simply making our handbook reflect the policies. What we didn't want to have happen was us trying to enforce a policy that no longer existed. So we went through those policies to make sure that they matched. And as we were in those policy meetings with the board, I made sure to take notes, change this policy, change this policy.
If I could expand on that, as part of the policy process, there were times where we were pulling in staff and pulling in parents, pulling in focus groups to get some feedback. I think that's an area that we can continue to expand on. And I think the Education Equity Advisory Council could be an excellent resource for that work as well.
Should we go with the MSBA model handbook next year? I see that process being a little bit more intense, a lot more feedback. Do we want to adopt these things or say?
Thank you. Other questions?
I
I move that we approve the new handbooks for the 22-23 school year for all businesses.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Action item number 4 is consider changes to the substitute pay rates for the coming school year.
I'd ask Mrs. Crafty to share some information with us.
Good evening. So as you may recall, during COVID, the school district did increase the rates of pay for substitute professionals and substitute teachers. That was a temporary increase. And so as we reviewed surrounding school districts, et cetera, our recommendation is coming forward to increase that on a permanent basis and to recommend $180 per day for a teacher substitute with $90 for a half day and $14.50 per hour for our substitute paraprofessionals. Continue to experience that shortage of paraprofessionals, and so really just hoping to be competitive and recruiting and retaining these folks. We do appreciate all the work that they do for us, and they're an important piece of keeping everything going smoothly for our students.
Because I don't have everything memorized, or are these the rates we had last year, or are they also increased?
There is a slight increase. We were at 175 during COVID, and then 1275 for our paraprofessionals.
I mean, I support, I was just more curious.
Yeah.
And are we competitive with surrounding districts as well?
We are, with the exception of our neighbors to the south, who increased to 200, but this really does keep us, for the size of our district and our region, this keeps St. Peter in a really good spot. Any other questions?
Since I don't hear any questions, for folks who may be watching this, what are the requirements if somebody's interested in being either a substitute para or a substitute teacher? What are the requirements and how would they get in touch with the school?
Yeah, that's a great question. So for substitute teachers, certainly a licensed teacher in the state of Minnesota is certainly one doorway in. The other is if you have a 4-year degree, you can receive what's called a short call substitute license. And with that license through the state of Minnesota, you can substitute for up to 14 days in a row in a classroom and in a teaching position. So we would encourage folks, if they have a 4-year degree and are interested, to reach out to our district office, and we can, Erica in our district office, we can give them that information. We also have paraprofessional substitute positions posted on our website, and so for those types of positions, folks just need to complete that application. They'll be contacted by the school district office, background check and so on, and explain, go through some of that onboarding process, and we'd love to have them. Great question.
If someone,
I move to approve the substitute rates for 22.
Second.
we have a motion and a second, further discussion? Hearing none, call the question. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Agenda item number 5. Consider the approval of a 3-year lease with the city of St. Peter for use of this building for community and family education.
Yes, we have been leasing space in this building for quite some time, and we have reached the end of our prior lease, and as we were developing this, we wanted to make sure that if we had made the decision to move some of our programs, that we would have the option of terminating the lease or adjusting the lease accordingly, and so it now includes a clause that allows for a 120-day notification of a change or termination of the lease. Otherwise, it's exactly the same, except for the rates increasing each year.
Just for the public that may be watching, is that for both parties, 20-day?
Yes. Yep. And it's about $45,000 a year. Thank you.
Any questions? Additional conversation? Hearing none, if someone wants to call the motion.
Item
Or
number,
call that.
sorry, item number 15 is the termination prior to these terms.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve the 3-year lease with the Citizen Theater program with European and
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Agenda item number 6. Consider approval of changes to the 2022-23 mobile device handbook. Gus, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. There were no substantial changes from last year's handbook. Mainly just updated the technology director's name. And
Who is that?
this guy. But, and there were some school board policy references in there that were still referencing the old numbering system. So those are updated, and some grammatical errors that we found in education committee. Fixed. Those are substantial changes.
And this is some incoming 5th grade students, incoming 9th grade students, and anyone who is new to the district.
First grade was required.
It applies to everyone. Just sign it.
It has a reference.
Just a question about the one-to-one device. I'm guessing that you guys always review that. I mean, it's still iPads for the high school and Chromebooks for the middle school. Is that just what those teachers have found to be most helpful? Or, I mean, how are those decisions made? People ask me sometimes, and I'm like, I have no idea.
Right, that's the way things have been for quite some time. That was a kind of building-led decision when the middle school went to Chromebooks. With all the transition in the tech department, that question hasn't really come up. We're not looking to take that on, but I think that is a valid question. What the best moving forward, what makes sense.
For some people, that there's a learning curve, and I know that, you know what I mean, and it's different, so.
Right. And it is a valid question to take a look at possible issue for the future.
The things that I've heard, it's often different from class to class depending on how they are looking to utilize the technology. If it's a class where they're making videos and active production, the iPad's a little easier than making a movie with your Chromebook. If you're more focused on writing reports and doing research, then they kind of prefer a Chromebook. So the iPad with the keyboard was kind of the middle of the road. And so I think it is conversations that we should have. I think that we are ready to revisit what one-to-one looks like at the elementary level as well, because we do have concerns about the amount of screen time kids have and the way that they're being utilized. And we really want to focus on having books in hands too, and not just electronics. And so those are ongoing conversations, and I think it will be revisited as we look at our curriculum, as we look at all of our instructional strategies through this strategic plan.
Don't envy go back to me, but so at the elementary, say that our kids don't have that age anymore, so I'm guessing, we know we have all these devices for when people bring them home, but are the elementary kids still bringing home devices? Or are they mostly just used in the classroom? Because I mean, we have this handbook, or the mobile device handbook is very small now, so I'm not sure.
Right. It was a little different with COVID. but now they stay at school unless we're in high school.
We predict snowstorms. So we try to monitor and then we'll send them home if we think there's a possibility of snowstorms so that they have the flexible learning, but otherwise it's K4 level.
There's certainly encourage some passion.
Earlier today, I heard some inspiring words from E.T. Krafke as she was presenting to the Rotary group, and it really rung true for me, and kind of just my thoughts around technology recently. Just saying, you know, when you're in the grocery store, back when I was a babe, and back when my kids were young, you know, the kids were, I don't know, hopefully they weren't crying because they wanted the Cocoa Pebbles instead of the Cheerios. Right, putting junk in your car. You're having conversations, you're talking about things. And now when you walk through the grocery store or store, you so often see the kid in the cart and they either have a phone or an iPad, and that same kind of interaction isn't happening. You know, those are great opportunities for language acquisition, to talk about math, to talk about a lot of things. And we really want to encourage people to really engage young children in conversation, and all of our kids in conversation, and maybe set the screens aside and really focus on interacting in those settings rather than, you know, doing the easy thing maybe and keeping them entertained. So thank you for sharing that message. It's a good message that we should all share. Sorry, that had nothing to do with mobile.
I move to approve the changes to the 22-23 mobile device handbook.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion, more stories? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. This next agenda item came to the business committee because we are legally required to do this. So.
Yeah, it wasn't so much fun last month, I had to bring it back again, but remember last month we approved the lunch prices because that's what we typically do in July. Right after we did that, we got guidance from the state that for what the adult prices need to be. We had set it at $4.35, and their guidance came out that it needed to be $4.95. So we just kind of got them in and raise the price. With the federal program, they set the prices on the non-free and reduced. They don't want you subsidizing the other meals with that, so that's the reason. I think part of the reason is last year they did not give any guidance with COVID. We kind of went in the middle of their recommended increase, and as everybody that's shopped at the grocery store knows, food costs are up, so I'm assuming that's why they increased it to $4.95. So I guess we don't have a whole lot of price in it, but we need to work with it.
I move to approve the lunch price revision 22-23.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Action item number 8. Consider memorandum of understanding with the paraprofessionals regarding a newly created certified intervener position. Superintendent.
Sorry. No, laughing about this, it's not a funny topic. From time to time, very specific student needs come up that call for a specifically trained individual. That is the case with this position. It is a position called intervener, and it is someone who is trained specifically to work with students who are both hearing and vision impaired. And so this will be a paraprofessional position, but it takes a full year for this person to be trained. So we have arranged for an MOU with the paraprofessionals to have a paid differential for this year of training. Our thought is, because we will be negotiating a contract, that we would create a specific lane, much like we have for a health assistant in the paraprofessional contract, that we would have an intervenor paid lane as well, probably comparable to the health assistant position. So, because we already have a contract in place, and we are working to convince someone to go through a full year of training, which requires them to be out of town over the weekends, once a month. It's a considerable responsibility and taking a lot more than other people. So that is what this is about. And they would follow the health assistant's pay lane in the current contract.
So what happens until that person's trained? Like, you know what I mean, is this like, we're looking ahead, we're gonna have this need in a year, or we have this need now, you know what I mean?
Yeah, the training is designed for them to learn while they're doing it. And so they start working with the student, they get some initial training, and then after they work with the student, try some of those strategies out, then they can go back to talk about those strategies, they learn some new strategies, and so they continue to learn skills over the course of the year. And then this person, the intention is this person will follow the student from year to year. Hopefully, we'll eventually have more than one, in case they need to take a sick day or something.
Whoever takes that on, it's like a big deal, actually, for that particular person, so.
And it's a significant obligation to go through it.
I move to approve the MOU for paraprofessionals regarding SMU certified intervenor position.
Second.
A motion and a second. Further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Move on to action item number 9, which is consider the approval of a 3-year contract with the superintendent of schools for the 2023 through 2026 time period. So Treasurer Lopensgaard and I met with Superintendent Franza and worked out the details on a tentative contract. This tentative contract is in line with other bargaining units in terms of percentage salary increase that were negotiated last time by the HR committee. And then besides salary, there was just one other change. This tentative contract allows the superintendent to carry over some vacation days, but puts limits on how many that they can use in a year or consecutively. Just allows to build a little bit. And that is in section 2. Tim, I don't know if there's anything you want to add.
No, I was just going to make the motion to approve the 3-year contracts. 23, 26.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Further discussion?
So just for clarification, this contract will be in effect next July 4th.
Yes. On the successful completion of the current contract.
Great question. Hearing no other discussion, I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you for your service, and glad that we can move past this and keep going. So,
I'm very appreciative. I very much enjoyed my time this far been amidst the biggest whirlwind of my career in education. And I look forward to really actually sinking into the work that I love to do. So, thank you very much.
That concludes our action items for the evening. We have 2 information items. We have a building and grounds update.
And here comes Sharon Peterson, our new maintenance and operations supervisor. And she is so excited to be here to share all of the amazing things the maintenance crew is doing.
Thank you for being here.
You just want to update what's going on?
Yeah.
Okay, so the update. So there was some carpeting projects, a couple projects going on in different schools. Carpeting at the North School is complete. The carpet's been squared away. Sorry.
I saw a photo. It looks awesome. Normally, we like to joke with Darren that we don't like to do projects for him, which is a joke. But I'll have to text some links for you.
And the other big project that we had was the parking lot. And we did a punch list through that. There's a couple items on there that need to be addressed. There was a tripping hazard that's going to be addressed and fixed. And also, there was a little bit of damage done to some of the concrete and it didn't look good. It didn't meet our standards. So they're going to redo that. They found a way for that to be redone. It'll still be done before school starts. And I'm waiting on parts for the lamps, the light posts in the parking lot. And then Undertool Bridge and the school starts as well. And just the signage in the parking lot. And at the middle school, there was some lighting project and a ceiling tile project. That's pretty much completed. There's some lines that need to be worked on still, but other than that, it's okay. Everybody's worked hard and get everything done. We'll be ready.
Well, we heard at the business committee meeting that you've had a creative solution to the parking lot, so thank you for that.
Yeah.
Thank you. We'll go to information item number 2, summer programs update.
We don't have any puns. Oh, shoot. Don't work on that. All right, so this is our annual just report on summer programming. And so as you know, it's a busy place during the summer, even though a lot of folks think schools are quiet and everybody's off. It is hopping. So first off, Read and Feed. This is our 13th year. I don't know if any of you remember when we started that. Amazing. 13th year of Read and Feed. This year, however, we did have to switch sites because the middle school location was no longer eligible. So we're at North Elementary, and we kind of wondered how that might go. And we had all of that carpet replacement, and it was busy. It was a busy location. But we served breakfast and lunch for children ages 1 to 18, Monday through Friday, for 51 days, June 1st through August 12th. We had transit stops around the community for students and families to hop on and get a ride to North and then get a ride home as well. So with that, we served breakfast to 5,559 breakfasts. We served 11,000 free lunches for a total of 16,562. So that really ranks up with all of the other years that we've held that program here at the middle school in the last few summers. So really excited about that. And a shout out to Emily Craig and the staff and the food service department for keeping that program rolling, and it's a great service to our families. Then we have targeted services, and so as you may recall, we are reimbursed for that programming based on student attendance and seat time. So that's a self-supporting program. It's typically what we call summer school. We ran that for grades K through 8 this year again. We ran it June 28th through July 27th, so it was a total of 18 days from 8 until noon. And we had over 156 students attend that program. We did have transportation within the city of St. Peter and Kasota, which helps families ensure that their students will get here safely. And then they, of course, they had the read fee because it was all in one location, so that worked out really well. Then our high school summer recovery program for students in grades 9 through 12. There were 101 students that completed courses or in the recovery program, with 160 half-credit courses successfully completed. Now, I'm pre-K, so if you don't want to know what that really means, Jen knows your person. But it sounds really good, so.
Some kids are
Doing
gonna
great.
Very successful, yes.
A lot of credits.
Yeah, that's right. So we're a big shout out to those students and teachers who work in all of these programs. It's, you know, we all need to rest and rejuvenate, but the folks who come in, the staff and the teachers to help us out with these programs, we very much appreciate it.
They deserve a lot of credit.
They do. Thank you. Thank you, Paula. Yeah, so really appreciate all that. And then Jana said that students did not complete coursework will have the opportunity to recover additional courses at night school, so there still are continuing opportunities for them. And then throughout the summer, we also had ESY extended school year for students who have IEPs, individual education plans. So we had programming throughout the summer for those students who qualified as well. And I think for the most part, everything went off a ditch. Did you say? So another successful summer, and again, appreciate everybody's willingness and flexibility to send kids in the summer, and our staff helping to support the program, and your support of the programs as well.
Oh, is it principal's report next?
We'll move on to reports. Building principal.
Here they come.
More BYOC.
We had a conversation with Mrs. Curie. So we're going back to.
Here we are.
Smiling faces.
All right, so I'll start. So district-wide, we just wanted to give a reminder to families that now is the time to fill out reintroduced meal applications. For the last 2 years during COVID, breakfast and lunch was free for students, and that is no longer. So we're really encouraging families to make sure that they get hold of that application, which can be picked up at any school office. It's available on the website and can be filled out online. So we want folks to do that. It does need to be completed each year in order to receive benefits. And the program not only provides support to families, but it also provides financial support to the school district through compensatory funding, which is revenue that the district gets, as well as through Title I funding, which is a support program for students in the areas of reading and math. And also it helps determine the class that our athletics and activities are in. So it's really important in a number of ways, and we would just encourage anyone, even if they don't think that they're going to qualify, to fill it out anyway. It's completely confidential. And if a family or a student qualifies for free meals or reduced meals, there is no differentiation between someone who doesn't. Those days are gone. And so we would really encourage that.
I'm just going to jump in and say there are some benefits even if you're not planning on eating school lunch. Aside from that, the ACT and SAT waivers are based on free and reduced lunch. So for our high school students, that's a huge benefit as well.
It's a good one to add to our information.
There's another, not to interrupt you, but check out like Minnesota Zoo and a lot of those places, Children's Museum. Some of the criteria is often based on that.
Yeah, we, at the Minnesota Historical Society, have discounts for field trips based on free and reduced lunch, and have some opportunities for scholarship funding for like busing and things like that, and that's the number that we use. Anecdotally, I have stressed to them if they could be flexible and really look at 2019 rates for schools that may have dropped a little bit just because of all the information you've given me over the last 2 years about how rates have changed because of the free lunches.
And the cost of, we all know, the cost of living has gone up, the cost of groceries have gone up. This is like these programs are here to help support children and families, so take advantage of that if we can. And then in the area of early childhood, we're preparing for the beginning of the school year. We do have that beautiful new parking lot that Sharon mentioned earlier, so we appreciate that. We just still have openings in a few of our preschool programs, so we would encourage families, if they're interested, if they have a 3 to kindergarten age child, that they give us a call if they're interested in preschool, and we'll get them all set up.
All right, on to north and south. I'll be representing Mr. Doherty today for this legal meeting. At this point, all of the classroom assignments, we hired our last teacher as of this morning. And the minute everything came back, we had the letters announcing who the teacher would be ready to go out, and no, that information has not been shared with parents. So they can go on and register for back-to-school conferences. The PTC Fast Links have also been shared. So if parents haven't received that information, they should call the school offices and we'll make sure we get a second packet out to them and give them all the information that they need. The other thing that's important to do now is register for busing, especially with some of the road closures. Figuring out those bus routes and timing is also dependent on how many students we have riding. So contact the Savings Bus Company and they will get you registered. They'll have passes that the students will be using, bus passes for our students. And it just takes some time to get all of those things ready. So it's important that we know how many students we're planning for. As Sharon mentioned, the carpeting in North has now been completed. Both North and South have received new displays. You go into the LED, that's what they're called, the LED panels. Versus removing the smart boards little by little and replacing those. And in addition to that, the North Media Center also has a bright, fun new theme. I did get a chance to check it out. It was really great down there. So kudos to everyone who picked up the new colors for that area. South found out that we were awarded a $2,000 kindness grant. So that works for our PBIS funding, PBIS leadership group. And so our Star Pride team is now looking at different ways that they can be incorporating kindness activities and using that as a focus as we start our school year. So the team has been busy working on that. North already receives that grant and they use it every year for that kindness retreat that they do with their workers and their peace making program. As I mentioned, we have added a 7th section of first grade. So we currently have 7 kindergarten and 7 first grade classes, and we had 2 parents call today to register. So again, just encouraging everyone to register as soon as they can so that we can make sure that we're prepared for those first days. And conferences will be on the 29th and 30th of August. Parents will sign up K-8. They will have half-hour conferences scheduled with their classroom assigned teacher, homeroom teacher, and then they will also get their school pictures taken at exhibit study as well. Okay, so at the pre-K, we're doing pre-K through 4, and they will also have pictures taken. So, and I believe that's a wrap for the elementary schools.
We continue in age order of the students.
Wait a minute.
At the middle school, in terms of the updates, our 7th and 8th grade hallways our classrooms have new drop ceiling, new lights, that look amazing, and new paint on the walls. It really looks nice. Every year about this time, I start to kind of get nervous, like, oh my gosh, it's not ready, and then miraculously it's shame. So thanks to Sharon for that. This week is super, super busy at the middle school with 3 orientations. We have our Jumpstart program, which is our 5th grade incoming student orientation on the 17th and 18th. There are 3 sessions each day, and those sessions are 2 hours each. During those sessions, students get their schedule, they get their block, they practice, they walk around the building, get to know the building, and everything else in the building. We have 120 students signed up as of today. That's about 76% of our incoming 5th graders, which is really good. We'd love it to be 100% of the sign up. And then on the 19th, we have 2 sessions of new to district orientation. So students who are new to our district, 5th graders go to Jumpstart, the other students go to the student orientation, which is very similar to Jumpstart, a little bit more condensed. The new teacher workshop is also on the 17th and 18th, and the middle school will be inviting 8 new staff members. So very, very exciting. Looking forward to the gifts that we're bringing.
Well, and that's not not here, but I will say on behalf of the high school that high school schedules are live on Infinite Campus, so students can access those. They went out starting today, and if students don't have their login information, they can call the district office or the high school office to get a printed copy. And counselors have schedule change hours and put a lot of work into those schedules, so kudos to them. I've been there, and it's super fun. With alternative programs, we are just about getting full at Rockland. We still have a few openings. We have a lot of students that have expressed interest, but not all of them have turned in their paperwork, so it looks like we have a few openings. I'm not really sure, but if there are people out there that they have a student that's looking for a 4-day credit recovery program, I'd encourage them to reach out, because we do still have some spots. That's unusual. But Rockland will also have back-to-school conferences on the 29th and 30th, and we'll begin on the 31st. And that's just to do a lot of individual planning for their credit recovery needs. And then the first day of school for Oshawa Learning Academy is the 29th. They will start on the same schedule as St. Clair High School, and we have students enrolled 5 through 12 again this year. So they'll be ready to go. That's all we have.
Thank you. Charlie, did you have any comments?
Can't really see anything about that.
I don't know what to do with my hand.
I did want to mention that the carpeting and things at North, it does look amazing. Because we were having meet and feed and just about all of our summer programs were at North, we weren't able to get into all of the classrooms to do the carpeting and paint, so some of the project will be completed next summer. So if you see the downstairs hallway is not been redone yet, that's why. We couldn't have everything going on and get the projects done. So we do have the carpet and everything that we need. We just needed more time. So, I'm sure that many of you are aware of the construction that started today at the intersection of Broadway and Sunrise. I realize it's going to take some time for people to get a handle on exactly where they can and can't go. And so this morning there were several cars that went up the hill, down the hill, and a few started cutting across Lincoln. And so we did put barricades across there, hopefully just until people get the gist of where they can go and where they can't go. That is an area that throughout the day when school starts, there's kids going back and forth there at lunchtime and for gym class, and I don't want that to become a thoroughfare for cars, because cars and kids just aren't a good combination. So that is going to affect some bus routes, likely some timing of bus routes. We're going to monitor how long it takes, because the buses at the end of the day go from the high school to the middle school. And they won't be able to just close down Broadway now, they'll have to go around. So we're going to see how it goes, and we might have to adjust by a few minutes at the end of the day. I'm betting there's going to be some congestion, probably on Jefferson and on 7th and on Traverse, because those are areas of detour. There are also areas where we have a lot of traffic in the morning anyway, because of drop-off at South and at North. And so just let's all be patient with each other while we figure out the best routes and the most efficient routes. It is projected to be detoured through the end of November, so we'll have plenty of time to figure out the best routes and the best ways to go.
Does it affect safe routes to school in terms of kids that are walking, or do they get around that?
That's an excellent question. I believe they will not be able to walk through that corner, but if they're coming up the sidewalk, they can. We have had conversations about moving the crosswalk because of sightlines, but they're going to be repainting the streets. That is something I'm going to
I've been driving past one of the times thinking, you know, that P-Rock and the town granted, they're kind of scraping that up now, but yeah, school, detour, crazy. I'm just like, and I know we're not the city, but can somebody just, what was the reasoning for doing this 2 weeks before school started? I've been asked, and I know we're not the city, but does somebody have, like, was there some timing issues?
Yeah,
Scheduling or?
there, I mean, I don't know what the thing is, but I think there was some difference of opinion with the county and the city, and then there was some supply line delays. And I know that their intention was to have this project done before school started or close to it, and it just kept getting later. Okay. I was going to give a really long reminder about free and reduced price lunch, but Mrs. Crafty did that so well that I don't think I need to do that. I will let you know we will be hearing about it again and again and again at all of our back to school events, and there's going to be additional mailers. It just speaks to the importance of this. The difference is over $500,000 a year for the school district from 2019 until now. And it could be the difference between a deficit budget and a balanced budget. And so it's not only important for individual families, but for all of us collectively as a district as well.
That mailer, the second mailer will be going out this week, so folks should be watching their mail for that.
Thank you. And that will be going out in multiple languages as well. On another topic, we are happy to see so many students coming back to St. Peter. At the end of last year, we were reporting that enrollment had dropped by a little over 90 students. By today's count, we've recovered about 60 of those students. And so, as Principal Oakey said, every day we're having additional people come in and saying, sign me up. Whether those are brand new families to St. Peter, which we know there are some of those as well, or families who maybe were homeschooling or made an online choice or another choice while COVID was really in its peak. We're happy to see them coming back. Families can stop by the district office to enroll, or they can go online and get the information for enrollment. I'm more than happy to help you and welcome you back to St. Peter, or welcome you to St. Peter as a new family. Finally, it's an exciting time of year. I was visiting North today and sent Ben a picture of the new carpeting and paint because I was super excited about it. But it's that time of summer where you walk in and everything is freshly waxed and everything is dusted and sparkling clean, and it's just exciting. Kids and parents are talking about, oh, what teachers do you have, and what grade are you in, what kind of crayons did you buy? It's all very exciting. And everyone's busy preparing for the start of the school year. Like I said, the maintenance crews have really been hard at work making sure everything is sparkling for the first day of school. And staff are getting ready. They're writing the student names at the elementary levels and getting their class lists so that everyone feels really special and included and welcomed on those first days. And I know our families are getting ready too. And part of getting students ready is having some conversations at home about expectations, about giving your all the time, and the importance of attending school regularly and how to actively participate, but also to talk about how to handle some of the emotions we might feel at school, about how to be a good friend, about how to respond if we're frustrated or our feelings are hurt. And it's really important for all of us to be sending those positive messages to students and helping them with those social skills. And it's something that we work on at school but when we work together in partnership and making sure our students know how to navigate all those different situations, it really makes a difference. And we're very fortunate in St. Peter to be in a community that cares deeply about education and is involved in all of our students' education. And I just really look forward to having a great year where we can focus on our students and focus on academics and having the whole community be a part of this, be a part of that. So, thank you again for approving an additional contract for me. Like I said, I feel very blessed and fortunate to be here at St. Peter and look forward to continuing our work together. That concludes my reports.
Thank you. On to board members. Charlie?
I do for sure. Don't like it.
Tracy?
I'm going to do the jazz hands, but I do have, this is, because Ms. Engeldinger is not here, I'm going to throw in something about the high school. The League of Women Voters, which is a nonpartisan voter education group, has granted us 3 fellowships for the St. Peter Senior High School, and we have Eleanor Kennedy, Amelia Hildebrand, and Najma Jamek, who are going to be conducting a session on the 20th of September, which is why I'm saying this now, because the next meeting is the 19th, in which they're going to, and they're working on throughout the period between now and the election, on helping seniors who are going to be 18 know how to register, work their way through the whole maze of all of that kind of thing. And these 3 young ladies are very excited and very capable of this. Now back to, as a board member, I want to commend John Graff for his work with the Native American Parent Advisory Group Committee. That group had a booth at the Nicollet County Fair and did an absolutely excellent job of being visible, and they're working really hard on getting more Native families registered and creating activities which we can all kind of learn from and enjoy. And thank you, John, for your work with that. That's it.
I'm just excited to start. I'm excited that we have a start of a year that I feel like we haven't had for the last couple of years because of all the stuff. And I'm just excited that it's going to be back in school and things are like feeling normal. I'm just excited about it. It's been a slow burn here, you know, with some. I'm just looking forward to it. So I agree. It's an exciting time. You know, the class lists are out. It's just cool. Thanks,
Thank you. Upcoming meetings of the school board. We have a policy committee on Tuesday, August 30th at 4 p.m. in the district office. A study session with Longview Education on Monday, September 12th at 6:30 in the St. Peter Middle School Media Center. Education committee on Tuesday, September 13th at 1 p.m. in the middle school conference room. A business committee meeting Tuesday, September 14th at 4 p.m. in that same conference room at the middle school. And a regular board meeting on Monday, September 19th at 6:30 here in the governor's room. So with that, motion to adjourn.
Okay, I just want to ask a little.
Yes.
Yep, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.